You're live.
Okay, so what should the theme be about?
We can talk about anything that you want to talk about.
Okay.
So everything that I was going to be asking about was basically just with the things that you've started and kind of your inspiration behind each of them and how you started getting into businesses
Okay.
in general. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Is there a different theme that you'd like to hit?
No, I'm just trying to think of how I want to start that.
And then we can branch off and go literally anywhere with it. I mean,
Okay.
we've
Yeah,
talked,
I imagine we'll just have.
last
how
week
long
we
are
talked about truck
shooting
stop
for?
prostitutes
Like,
for a little bit.
how long are your podcasts?
About an hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so we'll just kind of have a conversation.
So we'll just have a conversation. So I mean, you could out of nowhere you can be like, so what do you think about like lobster? Do you like lobster? Like it doesn't matter. You can talk about anything that you want.
All right. Do you prefer we look at this camera or like whatever?
Doesn't matter.
It's pretty.
Yeah,
versatile.
just treat it as we're having a conversation, and occasionally I'll look at the camera, and Casey likes to jump in, or we'll drag Casey in on some stuff to see his opinion on it.
Okay.
Occasionally too, so can just kind of have fun with it, basically. So you ready to do this thing, Nate?
Let's do it.
You ready to do this podcast thing? Have you been on a podcast before?
I have once. So I started all these different Instagram accounts when I was in my undergrad,
Okay.
and I grew them to over so there were 23 accounts
Yeah.
with a collective follower.
And just
value.
side note, when you're speaking, imagine that, like, try to be a
Sorry,
little
be
bit closer
closer.
to the
I'll
to the
probably
microphone.
bring the mic back to the edge of the table.
Yeah, just to keep consistency with it.
Okay.
Okay, go on.
So while I was in my undergrad, I started all these different Instagrams, and like I had a collective following of over like 1 million followers on all these. It was
Wow.
just about general interest I had, like dogs, hair, male
How
models.
did you grow them as big as you did?
So I would be constantly like DMing these high schoolers with bigger accounts than mine. Like most of them were super young kids
Yeah.
that had these humongous accounts.
I don't know how these kids do it, but I look at like every 16-year-old has like 3,000 followers on Instagram. And
You're
I'm
just
like,
what?
what am I doing? I'm like, your content sucks too. You're not even posting anything cool. I don't get it.
Well, there's like tons of methods that people use to like get fake Instagram followers or likes. And,
Yeah.
But like I tried to hit accounts that had super high like interaction to post per follower, like the ratio.
Yeah.
And so like super high comments and just a really interactive group and, pages I liked in general. And so we would like trade, like, it'd be like shout out for shout out. And I did that so much. I'd have to constantly log in to like just dozens of different accounts and log out
Oh,
and log
yeah.
in. And
Yeah.
so what I did is I started like selling like 24-hour advertisements on like my dog page had like 400,000 followers.
Oh my, do you still use that? Is it still
So
an
I
active account?
contract because it's so much work. I mean, you have
Yeah.
to think like you are posting tons of content. You're
Yeah.
trying to like interact with your community that you're dealing with.
Yeah.
And so it's so much easier to like just outsource it. But now we kind of
for
have
sure.
those venues.
Yeah.
It's actually a company in Pennsylvania that like facilitates all of the content and stuff.
Okay.
And so through that, I was able to generate like $1,500 a month.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
just
That's a
off
nice
of-
little rent check off
Yeah, but
off
it's
your
just
Instagram.
like a ton of work.
And how old were you? Were you like 21 or 20 years old?
Probably about 21.
Okay.
Yeah, and then after I got my biochemistry degree, I went right into med school, which took up a ton of time.
Yeah.
That was probably like the hardest thing I've ever done. And I finished my first 2 years and kind of just got this different perspective of medicine
Okay.
that I originally had intended it being. And so I think during medical school, I was like looking for every opportunity
To get out of
to
medical
get
school.
out, yeah.
And you're not in medical school currently,
Nope.
correct?
So I finished my second year and then I left.
Okay. Do you plan on ever going back to medical school?
No.
Yeah. I mean, you probably don't need to at this point with everything, all the other
Yeah, like we
things
work
going on.
like probably 80 hours a week to
Yeah.
like keep this company going. And I don't know, being in a startup is just incredible because you are constantly like wearing different hats. And I don't
Yeah.
think like, it is really hard to start a business, but it's not even about knowing everything. It's more or less about being able to be resourceful. I mean, there's so much
Yeah.
like thank God for YouTube. I mean, I coded
Oh,
a
yeah.
whole tons of websites off of just like things I've learned off of YouTube. And
That's so awesome.
you imagine like Photoshop, InDesign, After Effects, Adobe Premiere, Final Cut. Like all those programs have so much power to them, and
Oh,
they're
yeah.
so intimidating at the beginning. But,
Definitely.
like, watch a simple like
Yeah,
YouTube
4-minute video on
like,
YouTube, and you
and
know how
you
to do
can
it
literally
all.
do anything.
Yeah. No, YouTube is incredible for that. I mean, you can learn how to change your oil on YouTube. You can learn how to do anything that you want. It's
Oh my gosh, yeah. And so just experimenting with all these different medias and then kind of collectively knowing what each one is capable of, you can kind of start to construct in your mind these higher order plans that like you're like, okay, I would do that in Photoshop, I'd do that in, WordPress, and then we'll do the e-commerce through Shopify and just kind of collectively putting them together. And then I think as you grow, you get better at delegating those things to people because you can't possibly
No.
do it all. I think
Right.
one of the biggest parts that I like realize though is even still today, I think for any entrepreneur is you are always the first one in the trench. Like
Right.
whether it's starting to dig or like the last bit of shoveling.
Yeah.
And so you kind of have to get all these people to be convicted to your cause too, which it's a kind of a challenge in itself.
Right.
Because if you don't believe in what you're doing, I think it really makes for like an important culture aspect of a company.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you don't believe in what you're doing, then I don't know how you can expect to bring people on and
Right.
try to convince them to believe in it. So backing up a little bit, you said that, so you grew those Instagram accounts. That was kind of what you were doing while you were doing undergrad, essentially. But you did something with like a patent or like some kind of medical
Yeah,
device or
so
like temperature or something.
The money, okay, so I have a biochemistry background.
Right.
And essentially just using some simple chemical properties of water and food coloring, we were able to construct this device that tells if the receiving end of a temperature sensitive shipment, so like
Yeah.
say you're ordering something, whether it be from Whole Foods on Amazon,
Yeah.
with that recent acquisition, or maybe like an important like vaccine that there was a
Yeah.
huge case of at St. Luke's where I think like 10,000 kids had the vaccination, but it wasn't effective because it wasn't stored properly.
Ooh.
And so like being able to really quickly identify that through like a binary interpretation was really important. And so
Yeah.
with the money I made from Instagram, I filed my first patent, which is kind of expensive. It's in the range of about $7,000 to $9,000.
Yeah.
And so I hired a patent attorney. I think the road of patent law is very gray.
Right.
It's hard to navigate by yourself, and
Yeah.
it's hard because you want to have all your bases covered. But it was just easier for me to consult with legal help
Oh,
at
for
that
sure.
point.
So you developed this device then, essentially, that would be used to track it. And then if I ordered a steak from Whole Foods or Amazon.com, then the steak got too warm, then it would set off this.
Yeah, so just like it's called Starship.
Okay.
And so what we did is, if you think about it, it's a sequentially melting device. And so we can gauge temperatures anywhere from 0 to negative 50 degrees Celsius.
Got it.
And so it's like a stoplight, red, yellow, and green. And what we did is each one, as it goes above a threshold, melts into a different orientation.
Okay.
And so how that works is, if you think of when they put salt on the road, it actually melts the ice. Well, it
Right.
actually doesn't melt it. It's a concept in chemistry called the freezing point depression. So we're adding a solute, disrupting those water molecules from actually being put together at a certain temperature. And you can actually, like through a graph, calculate the concentration of a salt and then depress the freezing point to a range where you're trying to monitor or measure. And so
Okay.
say we had the red one would melt at 0, the yellow one would melt at -3, and then the red one or the green one would melt at maybe like -10. So
Okay.
that's like your beginning threshold. Like you're
Yeah.
okay. So it did go between -5 and -10 degrees, but it didn't go above 0.
Right.
And so like because it only involves water, food coloring, and kind of a like design of plastic that orients it. It was a pretty
Yeah.
cheap and effective way to
Yeah.
to like solve a problem. And so that kind of I won the UMD Shark Tank my first year of medical school.
Nice.
And I was so kind of like intimidated by all of these entrepreneurship majors.
Oh, yeah.
And they're coming in here thinking that they were like they have this in the
Right. Yeah, they think they got it in the bag.
but it was kind of fun to cause some upset, and especially not knowing or having any background. And I've always been super interested. Even in my undergrad, I knew after medical school I would want to go back and get like my MBA, so I could eventually
Yeah.
transition into like maybe a more administrative position, understanding both physician and administration side, being that
Right.
kind of like connection.
Yeah. Yeah. So what did you do to, I guess, but you ended up like monetizing
Yep.
that device.
So
So how did
we-
you go about doing that?
We are actually, so we're getting certified, Six Sigma certified. And
Okay.
so we have to clear all these FDA regulations before we're able to actually claim like health.
Oh,
under-
yeah.
and
Right.
So it's like a long and legal process of,
Yeah.
of like trials and errors. And so kind of what my view as an entrepreneur is you can't really ever rely on one thing, especially in the beginning. And so, literally it's like throwing darts at a wall.
Oh, yeah.
And trying to find one thing that sticks. A really good analogy I use is, we're planting a bunch of seeds, and typically if you plant enough seeds,
You'll get lucky and you'll get
you'll
corn
get
eventually.
at least one beautiful,
Yeah, exactly.
really beautiful flower.
Yeah, no, I think people look at it the wrong way. They think this is like, they'll start one business and they think I need to keep pushing and pushing and pushing on this business until it explodes and this is the thing that makes me a millionaire. When really you should have 7 businesses and maybe
Yeah.
4 of them
And
fail.
especially because there's a lot of time like constraints on a lot of them. So like, while that's in that process of development,
Yeah.
we started like 4 other companies, and so like, it's just been a really incredible experience and kind of crossing boundaries between, medicine into technology, and
Right.
then now we're starting to actually kind of put them both together as we're developing and getting consulted on for like a variety of like different medical apps, which
Yeah.
is really cool. Because what I found out sorry, we haven't talked about Platonic yet. But,
Yeah, we'll get there.
Okay.
For sure.
After I developed my first app, I kind of realized that I have this full-scale stacked development team in place for both Android and iOS.
Yeah.
And so
And what was the first app? Is that?
it was Platonic.
That's Platonic. Okay.
Yeah, and so what Platonic is essentially like our vision for Platonic is to be the frontline application for how people meet, how people trust the online meetup community, how people demonstrate and experience culture. Because
Yeah.
a lot of times, if you think about it, is like people would never cross paths if you didn't have a reason. And
Oh,
so
yeah, exactly.
there's so many people even in my own neighborhood that I share like mutual passions for, and it would just be like so incredible to have like met them
Oh,
through
right.
that.
And
so,
rather than leaving it up to chance.
Right.
But I think a good example of that, like where I could have used Platonic in a big way, is a couple of years ago I went to Washington, D.C., and I knew nothing about like the nightlife or where to go to have a good time in Washington, D.C.
Right.
So what I did was I used my Tinder account, and then I said, like in the bio, I said, like in Washington, D.C., I want to know where like the college kids go at this time. And so I just like swiped right on every single person, and every girl that I matched with, I would like, hey, where do I
Yeah,
go?
just kinda quiz
this,
them
that.
on-
I'm not like trying to hit. Well, I'm kind of trying to hit on you, but mainly I'm just trying to find out like which bars I'm supposed to go to. And it was really effective. But I mean, you could do that in any sense, really. Like if you
Right.
go to Oregon to go mountain biking or something, you can say, hey, which cool bars are where were the
yeah,
cool
and so
breweries, cool trails?
kind of for me, I mean, if you look at like graphs of online dating usage, the gay and lesbian community kind of like skyrocketed because it was like a really effective way to find
Yeah.
like people of your similar type.
Right.
And so Grindr is the kind of the gay version
Yeah.
of it's like designed to be very masculine, very edgy. It's like your very organic hookup app.
Yeah.
And so like while I was traveling in Europe, because it's kind of like a world-known app, I was able to like quickly connect with local people, on my profile too. It'd be like,
Right.
just we're just new to the area. I have 14 girls with me, you know,
Mhm.
other Americans, and people were so excited to like come and meet like us and show us
Oh, really?
around.
Yeah,
and,
that's awesome.
and I think really to like practice their English. And so, but I had to go, you know, that's not like the community that really fosters those kind of connections.
Yeah.
And so we feel like it's just a product of our time, like a really trusted, culture-based, experience-driven platform in which people can kind of find for their mutual passions for. And you
Yeah.
know, especially when you bring people like that together, it really can create something that was bigger than ever before.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it seems like all of the technology coming out has something to do with connecting people right now. So, I mean, it makes sense that you can do it that way.
And so kind of what branched from that is because Platonic is for right now our target demographic as like for our business strategy is college freshmen.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're the very vulnerable situation, you know, going to a new place,
Yep.
lots of changes. Um, Relationships are pretty surface level at this time.
Right.
And so they're looking for resources that are able to connect them with like on-campus communities in like a really fast way. And so the only way to do that right now is dating apps, which
Yeah.
there was a survey done of over 6,000 online daters, and 43% said they were just looking to find friends.
Yeah.
And so like it's a big problem, and especially with like the mental health epidemics coming up, I feel like if you can find somebody just to talk to be able to kind of alleviate that, whether it be depression, anxiety, that can help more than any prescription medication
Yeah.
really can.
Oh, for sure. So do you have the Platonic and then MC Cubed? Is that the
Parent, yeah. So kind of the structure is MC Cubed is kind of like an incubator accelerator. And so although we have a bunch of our own internal projects, we also take a lot of projects from the community and like community members.
Yeah.
Whether, you know, it's really hard. I remember when I had my first idea, it's like, where the heck do you start?
Right.
And because we've been through the process now so many times, we're able to not only like help you and guide you, but also like think about in an analytical way based off of our experience of what may be the best route for you.
Okay. So you're kind of like advisors, like
Yeah.
business advisors in a sense, but a little bit maybe a little bit more creative in a more
Much
exciting
more,
way.
yeah, much more on the creative strategy side.
Okay.
We really like do a wide variety of things. We've consulted for people with like animations, anything graphic design we're fully capable of, patent law, 3D printing, prototyping,
Yeah.
testing. And so typically, you know, all those things are very expensive, and kind of what we've done is keep putting the money back into MC Cubed.
Yeah.
And people can come to us with an idea, and maybe, you know, it's super expensive to get these things started and
Right.
establish a business. And so we'll typically work out some sort of arrangement where we can take a stake in equity in the company if it fits like our mission and goals.
Yeah.
And so we've been kind of just like dabbling in all these different companies and taking little pieces
Okay.
while building our own
Yeah.
like within.
Right. That's really good. So is there one of these companies that you're creating that you feel most passionate about, or is it kind of like they're all your children and you like
I
them?
think they're all my children, but I definitely go through. I think I'm like a total ADHD. Like I just have lots of different angles and attention to different things, and so it's really nice to be able to work on like 4 different projects a day.
Yeah.
Versus like I'm working on this one
Yeah.
the whole time. I'm super excited about this fashion line we have coming out, which is just going to be. I love.
That's right. We haven't talked about that yet either.
I love fashion. I love like dressing up and wearing suits, and I think it'd be a really fun like hobby work life if we were to go in that direction.
Yeah.
But essentially, the brand is called Rainbow Rain, and our mission is to celebrate diversity.
Okay. And that's the shirt that you're wearing right now. Is kind
Yeah.
of a
So we have
kind of a beta.
a beta here. Kind of how it works is at a rainbow is embroidered across from sleeve to sleeve across the chest, and when you're standing, it looks like you're wearing a rainbow. And the coolest part about it is if you see someone else with a Rainbow Rain T-shirt on, and if you link arms, you actually make a bigger rainbow.
Oh, I see. Nice.
And so you're bringing people
Yeah.
together. And what's really awesome is we have all of these different types of rainbows that go on the shirts, whether it be for breast cancer, AIDS awareness. We have a puzzle one for autism awareness. And so kind of unifying this message across a universal symbol of kind of unity.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really a powerful brand that we're building, like that the base of the brand, and then we can reach out to a lot of different demographics.
Right, and you're kind of in the early stages of that right now. And you're telling me a little bit about some of the things that you were doing to kind of get that line like ready so that you can launch it. And I think a lot of people are actually interested in hearing like what goes into starting a clothing line.
Yeah, and so it kind of goes back to the you don't have to know everything kind of thing. What we do is we're super resourceful. So we use like GoDaddy to host our website. We use WordPress to build our website. We use all of these different plugins, and essentially it's kind of a big puzzle because you're putting in tons of different pieces in places where you think they fit, and it's constantly changing. And so I guess a big part of it is, the biggest part is believing in it. And the second part is
Right.
like, acting and executing your actions. So we wrote a business plan. They have great business plan resources down at the Small Business Development Center in the Tech Village by
okay.
Pizza Luce.
Okay.
It's free business consulting if you have any questions.
That's cool. I didn't know they had that.
Yeah, it's like a government-run or funded through grants
Yeah.
entity of the University of Minnesota.
Okay.
And so they're a super awesome resource. But really, like, I think people have this notion where they're like, oh, I have a good idea. I need to keep it to myself.
Yeah.
Because they don't want people to steal it. And
Right.
it's really, really quite the opposite.
Yeah.
Like, you have to spread your idea and your message and get a ton of feedback. And, like, I mean, people are going to copy this if it's successful, of
Yeah.
course. I can't do that.
Right.
I can't, like, prevent any of those things from happening. But I can make, like, a quality T-shirt, a brand that it's built upon, and, like, a really important message that it sends.
Yeah.
And so that's where, like, our hearts are. And so we're not worrying about any of that stuff. If you can figure out how to do it, let me know.
Right.
So right now we're seeking we're going to do this big Kickstarter. So we had a successful Kickstarter with Platt,
Yeah.
which we learned a ton from. And
Yeah, I donated on it. I saw it on Kickstarter.
heck yeah, I did.
Yeah.
And so with the Kickstarter, I think the problem in why it was more difficult with Platonic, I messaged so many people to get that going, and like it's essentially 30 days of pure marketing.
Yeah.
Like you're just like getting the word out, spreading the
Right.
message, talking about it. I remember even going to a networking event for it was for Fuse.
Yeah.
And I brought my big camera and I took a bunch of pictures of people and handed out cards that said, if you want your picture, let me go to this website and donate to our Kickstarter, and
Oh,
I'll send
nice.
it to you.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't care if you donate $1.
Yeah.
I just need backers and like people to support this cause. And so like just a really interesting variety.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, just like a variety of way of methods.
Yeah.
And the issue is with that is that and the reason why I think Rainbow Rain will be a much more successful one, because we're trying to raise, we raised only $5,000 for that one, and we're trying to raise $65,000 for this project.
For Platonic, you raised 5,000.
Yeah,
Okay.
6,400 I think it ended up coming out to.
Yeah.
And
you're trying to do
is-
65,000 for Rainbow Rain.
Right.
Wow.
But the reason why we think this one is going to be so much more successful is that we're actually exchanging a product. And
Yeah.
so like you would pay retail price for this,
Yeah.
which would get us to that cap of where we need to go to further develop them.
Right.
And so where with Platonic it was you got like a free membership or something. And so we weren't selling like an actual product.
Yeah.
And really what the intention was for the Kickstarter for Platonic, it was just like a big yes, like first vote of confidence.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, all right, you know, we got like this, we hit this goal, we hit a big milestone.
Yeah.
Which is really incredible because when you hit your Kickstarter, there's tons of people that are just watching, like who has successful Kickstarters. Because
Oh yeah, I go on Kickstarter all the time.
like
just
obviously those are like potentially successful
Yeah.
products in the future.
Right. Yeah.
And so you get like hundreds of emails from like all these different people trying to like kind of bite into what you're doing, which was awesome because it like expanded our network so much. We ended up hiring an LA-based PR firm, and they flew out and got us like a ton of press, a meeting with the governor, and
A meeting with like the Minnesota governor.
Yeah.
Wow. Is that something that happened in the past, or that's going to be happening?
no, it happened in the past.
Oh, it did.
And so we got to explain what we're doing and kind of
Wow.
how I think being an entrepreneur, it's really important for you to be involved in policy because those are the people that dictate whether or not your business will ultimately
Oh
be
yeah.
successful.
Yeah. Hence lobbyists.
Very, yes,
Yeah.
hence lobbyist. And just being aware and making them aware of what you're doing and, you know, like, hey, you know, if you impose this tax on us, you're going to destroy the tech community in this area. And so just
Right.
like FYI, you
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
kind of giving them a heads up. But the opportunities that came from that, we also got just a ton of press that, you know, so successful Kickstarter, LA-based firm we hired, and then through that we got it, like it just went up and up and up, and so we kept getting like the message out. Eventually, we were actually still partnered with a different group in LA who's mentoring us through our kind of strategy through this the first time.
Okay.
And so we actually just applied to Yellow LA, which is a subsidiary of Snapchat, and they give you $150,000 for 6% equity, and that's like
Wow.
a super intense accelerator. You get
That's
access.
insane.
Yeah,
That's a
and
good deal.
It's a good deal. They always say if you're offered money as an entrepreneur, absolutely take it.
Yeah.
You got to take it because that opportunity may never come again, and
Right.
you can't underestimate the help of a potential partner. You really need them by your side.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it's about equally what you know, but probably a little bit more about who you know. You can know
Right.
everything in the world, but if you can't spread the word, spread the idea, get the message across, convince people to get down in that trench with you,
Yeah.
you know, then you might as well not even try.
Is it tough to get on Kickstarter?
No, and
Like, what goes into that? I've always kind of wondered about that, too. Because sometimes I see things on Kickstarter and I think to myself, this is absolute trash. I don't know how these guys are here.
yeah, they have to approve everything, but if you like kind of meet their guidelines, which aren't super clear because there's such a wide variety of like things that are on Kickstarter.
Oh, yeah. A
Um,
lot of board games.
I think the difference between Indiegogo and Kickstarter is that in Indiegogo, if you don't hit your goal, you still get the money.
Oh,
With
really? I didn't know that you
Kickstarter,
don't get your money.
You won't get it on
Oh,
Kickstarter.
man. That would
And-
make me nervous. I think I'd set my goal a lot lower if I knew that.
Yeah, so it kind of, but it, you know, kicks you in the butt. Like,
Yeah.
you're like, all right, we're doing this. I can't opt out because I can't cancel the Kickstarter. Once you have your first backer, who is me,
Nice.
you can't cancel it. And so it's forever in their archive if it fails. And so it's just like super
Oh.
motivating to like,
So that's probably how they make money then.
yeah, they keep 5%,
Oh, they do? Okay.
which isn't too bad.
No, relative. I mean, you got linked with that PR firm in LA, and
Yeah.
that's so valuable. Then you had
And
the
kind of
6,500 on
like
top
makes
of that.
you work really hard that week or that whole month. I mean, every single day we were sending out emails of like marketing material, like this is what it's going to be like. Thanks
Yeah.
for your support. And overall, it was a really great experience. I learned how to do a lot of marketing. So I would recommend it, but I wouldn't do it for a product that doesn't have a return to the customer.
Right.
People like to exchange money for things, and
Yeah.
it's hard just to kind of blindly ask people. You'll just be a lot more successful if you have like a good product by your side and are able to like deliver a deliverable.
Right. That makes sense. Where do you want to take Platonic? Do you want to like go public and be like a Facebook and
Yeah, it would be nice to do an IPO. We'll see. Essentially, the strategy is in the first year, we've been talking to all these wellness committees, 15 different universities in the Midwest.
Okay.
And so we've gotten 15 on board that are super excited, especially with they're saying and kind of checking the box, like we're offering a resource and an opportunity for people to connect, especially with this growing younger age. It's kind of like, I think the older demographic, meeting online was really kind of sketchy and new, and people were very hesitant, where I feel like, even for my everyday life, I meet everyone online before I meet them in person.
Right.
Like, it's actually kind of rare that I would cross paths.
Yeah. You just bump into somebody and become friends with them. Right.
And so providing an area where it's safe to do so, and safety is our number one concern. We have a bunch of safety through two-step verification. We have verification of photos, and all these different kind of avenues for people to feel safe, as long as developing automated intelligence to kind of filter out people who aren't, through keywords of what they're sending, spreading the culture and community message that we're going for.
Yeah. So you're able to just kind of essentially block that person out if they're being creepy or, I don't know, doing weird things, I suppose.
Yeah, so starting with that first age group for the college freshmen, by year 5, we'll have 100% of alumni know what it is, 100% of a university know what it is, and 100% of the incoming freshmen, because we're also offering an integrated system for colleges to partner up with an upperclassman right away, who they can turn to for whether it be asking questions about campus, maybe they just need some help, because although there's a lot of methods for that, whether it be welcome week, or it may be hard to get your message across right away, and so they're really looking at it as a positive thing where students can be more engaged on campus activities. They can actually quantify the amount of where students are, what they're interested in, so they can find out what they should invest more resources in, and really kind of keeping a track on what's going on around their campus in terms of community and activity and culture. Because I don't know if the biggest thing I've learned about starting my own business is the culture you set for your employees.
Right.
And so that can make or break a lot of work, I think, environments.
No, I definitely agree with that. I think you can see when maybe a culture is starting to go downhill within a company, and I don't know, it seems like pretty quickly thereafter they might suffer. But kind of referring again back to the MC cubed thing. So people will approach you. They'll say, hey, I have this business idea, or I have this existing business. I'm wondering if we can leverage you guys into expanding it. That's correct. Okay. And then I'm sure that you charge them a fee, or you charge them equity.
It's kind of a big negotiation.
Okay.
Based off of what we feel our time and commitment would be. It's really incredible, just the different situations you get in with that kind of business model.
So it's pretty much it's all negotiable.
Yes.
Basically. How often do you get someone who comes along wanting your help, and you say, "Dude, your idea is dumb, and we do not even want to help you because it's dumb"?
I probably
happen?
wouldn't say it to their face.
Right.
I usually try to, and I've learned this a lot with my employees, especially employing mostly undergrad students at the university. Is typically when people come, they're very stuck in one mind process, and so being able to ask them analytically, from different point of views, and get them and really try to dig out this deeper understanding of where they're coming from, because regardless if you meet somebody with a different opinion than you, or that's truly convicted to a certain cause, if you learn a little bit more about them, you can kind of find out the train of thought that got them there.
Yeah.
And so kind of identifying that and being able to understand, all right, so obviously this is, you're very concerned about this problem in the market, or whatever. And so kind of dissecting that a little more and organizing it, usually we can find something like
That would
where
work
that
within.
yeah, that
That's
would,
like
or like
related
a
to the business
modified
plan they
version.
originally had.
Yes.
Okay.
And
So if you have a greater understanding, it's easier for you to be like,
yeah, well, let's not take it that
what you're
route.
doing kind of sucks, but here's how it can be
Yeah,
improved.
very nicely we
Yeah.
try to say
Well, I mean,
that.
it's similar to, like Shark Tank and shows like that.
Yeah.
But so I mean, and those guys are constantly saying, like, most of them, they say, yeah, your business plan sucks. This will never work. So I feel like there would be a lot of times that
Well, and it's
that
just
would
like
maybe be the case.
the guy who invented Ring, the doorbell.
Yeah.
You
Was
know,
he on Shark Tank?
He was on Shark Tank, and
Okay.
he didn't make a deal. And so he
Those are
recently
everywhere.
sold his company to Jeff Bezos for $1 billion.
Oh man.
And like the man didn't invent the camera.
Yeah.
He didn't invent the doorbell.
Right.
He just simply put the two together and solved
Yeah.
like a really common problem for people. And so you don't have to start, by reinventing the wheel. Like think
Yeah.
of creative solutions that, you may not even understand it's a universal problem and have found a solution to it that works like very well that the market isn't currently tending to. It takes a little bit of creativity. I always say like being an entrepreneur is half the discipline of the sciences and half the chaos of the arts.
Yeah.
It's just like combining creativity with reality and like being able to see a higher order vision for whatever that may be for yourself.
Right.
And understand that it's possible. Like it's
Oh,
freaking
yeah.
possible. Like
Yeah, no.
if
I think the
you-
biggest thing that holds people back is like they just don't take that leap. They might have an idea and they'll get it all drawn up and say like, "Oh my gosh, this is going to be great," but then they'll run into maybe one speed bump and they'll be like, "Ugh."
Well, even like going back to the you have a bad idea thing is you're going to get told that
Oh yeah.
hundreds of times.
Yeah.
And people may slam it in your face, and we've contacted tons of VC firms, and they're like, we want nothing to do with this.
Really?
And then there's some who are like, this is so great, like we're totally.
Yeah.
And so, find like, it's kind of like in medicine, they call it the practice of medicine because every doctor, practices has different understandings, different specialties of different diseases, and one doctor may treat you completely different than another. So like,
Yeah.
people would always be offended. They're like, oh, would you get offended if someone asked for a second opinion? It's like, no, like absolutely, go ahead.
Oh, for
Somebody
sure.
may know something or see
Yeah.
something that I didn't. It's not offensive to me at all. But I feel like I'm a super social person, and it was kind of sad to me that the work that we do as physicians is kind of protected by the ethical foundation in which it was built upon.
Yeah.
You can't talk about your patients. You can't in public. You can't approach your patients,
Right.
and so like it's just not really like I think it's probably the most rewarding career, but equally as kill your heart, whether like something terrible happens, and you have to understand maybe without your intervention that they would have died anyway, and just kind of like seeing the whole scope of life to death and
Yeah.
like viewing it in a really short amount of time.
Oh, I couldn't do it. There's no way.
Is really
I would go
kind
nuts.
of eye-opening about like what actually being human is, and so
Yeah.
enjoy your time while you're here, people.
Oh yeah, exactly. No, I just there's a property right now that I'm getting ready to put onto the market, and I've been it's a triplex, and I've been kind of dealing with the tenants who are living within the triplex, and I just found out this morning that one of the tenants that were living in it died yesterday on it, so I'm not able to put the property up for sale because one of the tenants have died. But it was just like I was like I only knew the guy for like a week and a half, but I was like, oh, it's like he was literally like the nicest dude ever. He was just like every time I met him, he's like, oh, Gage, great to hear from you. And all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh. And he used to just talk forever, and I'd be like, I wish this dude would shut up. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I kind of miss talking to him. Yeah, yeah. Now I feel like a jerk too. But it's just crazy
your
things like that can
favorite
happen.
part about being a real estate agent?
My favorite part is probably, I don't know. I like dealing with people a lot, and I think just the general challenges of kind of being in business for yourself and having to to keep yourself motivated and determined, and you're kind of your own boss. So some days
Same.
if I like am having a lazy, yeah, exactly. If I'm having like a lazy day or whatever, I will like chew out my own ass and be like, I will literally look at myself in the mirror. I'm like, you are just being a huge bitch today. I'm like, I cannot believe you. You are a loser. And then I'll like go back. I'm like, all right, time to go fuck shit up. Let's do this.
And yeah, I think what's helped me is, especially in my undergrad, like find people and surround yourself with them who
Yeah.
like have equal-minded goals as you, because
Oh, yeah.
there are going to be days where you want to come home and shuffle the papers up and say, fuck it.
Yeah,
Like, I
fuck this.
totally don't, like, this
Yeah.
is terrible. I give up. But it's going to be the people around you that are like, no, like, pick them up. We got to keep
Yeah.
working.
Oh, yeah,
And
exactly.
equally, you'll be there for them when it's their turn to do that.
Mhm.
And you can't be happy all the time. I do feel like as the founder and CEO that I always have to be happy, but I think I can hide it.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not.
exactly.
Yeah, you just standing by your calls and decisions, and
Yeah.
my staff really are great. I really appreciate the amount of work they've done and the quality. We're building this company together, and it just started with an Indeed ad. I put out a bunch of different advertisements on Indeed.
Yeah.
I went to the engineering fair and set up a booth for MC Cubed, and I hired 6 employees right off the bat.
I was going to say, it feels like it would be not easy, but it wouldn't be that difficult to find people who want to work with you.
It is kind
Just
of
because
hard
it's such
to
a cool and kind of unique idea.
It's
all
hard-
of your businesses that you're
It's
doing.
hard to find people who have like a sense of like internal motivation. Like
Right.
I mean, I've been through probably now 10 students at UMD, and I retained 7.
Okay.
So like 10 are gone, so it's like 17 total.
Oh,
and
okay.
like being
Yeah.
able to kind of form and construct your team. I mean, you have one bad apple, it's so true, it can spoil the whole patch. And I think going through the process of hiring is a huge learning process. It can't be a conversation like so comfortable. We have to like know if you can, can you do these objective things that we need you to do, and maintaining those boundaries about, and putting them in situations that they're unfamiliar in. I mean, we're in a startup. You're not going to be
Yeah.
like, doing one little thing every day. Like, if
Yeah.
you want that, which there's great people that do that, go to a big company that would just better suit your working skills. And
Yeah.
because oftentimes, I don't know the direction. Like, I'm not like a finance person. I don't know if this is taxable or not, or like, I don't know how to use the big Facebook marketing platform. But like over time, if you get those people in that can teach you, and I would rely on them so heavily. I'm like, this is, you're a senior in marketing. Like,
Yeah.
at the end of it, like, I expect that you're kind of a professional.
You should.
You
Yeah,
know
you
what I
should be.
mean?
Yeah.
And so really relying on them and like observing kind of how they did things was
Yeah.
like it's just a big learning curve. And
Do you see value in like getting like a marketing degree from a college? Because it seems like the things that they teach, just marketing, it changes each day. Like what you should be doing for marketing and the different strategies, the different platforms that you should be on. It feels like it changes every day. So I mean,
yeah, it's really like we've talked about that a lot in our office, just about, how much would 4 years in industry teach you
yeah,
versus 4 years at university, and acquiring all the debt along with it,
Right.
especially
Yeah.
at least in industry too, you can be making money.
Right.
And so I don't know, that it's a great question. I think like a lot of the culture right now, well, when we were younger, it was you had to go to college. It
Oh
just
yeah.
wasn't an option.
When we were in like high school, it's like you
Oh,
either go or you're
you were looked
gonna
down
suck.
upon. Yeah,
all
and
your
so
life.
it just was. I think the shift in the culture's view of like maybe that's not the right thing to do.
Yeah.
I have from 4 years of undergrad and 2 years of medical school, $143,000 in student
Oh.
debt,
Man.
and it's terrifying and it's suffocating. I think my student loan payments are like $1,700 a month.
Wow.
and I think these positions come out of this extremely like rigorous and demanding uh, education program, and they're making 150, $200,000 a year after taxes. 100 divided by 12, maybe $8,000 a month. Divided
Yeah.
by 2 is $4,000, and then you have a $3,500 student loan payment, and so you're living by means of it's just it's not a way to I don't know, you are a servant to the people.
Yeah. No, it feels like it doesn't make any, like, if you want to do business or marketing, it feels like it doesn't make any, it almost seems like it's the opposite of what you should do. Like, oh, so you want to get into business, so you get a degree and then you go $50,000 in debt so that
Right.
you can get into business. Could you imagine if you would have taken that 50 into, and put it into an actual, even if you put it into a business that failed in 4 years, I feel like you would have learned a lot more than.
I've learned so much by opening and starting my own business.
Yeah.
Um,
Or even just Googling things.
Especially with the students, it's like the biggest problem I had in the beginning was they're like, I don't know how to do this. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
The first question I ask back is, well, where did you look? And they're like, well, I haven't looked yet. Okay. Like, you need to get out of here.
Yeah.
Like,
No, yeah,
just be resourceful. I don't know if that's the bigger message of college that they're trying to teach you, is to understand how to like think about problems and then develop like ways to find them. You can't have the solution right away. You never can.
Yeah.
But like backing everything up with as much information and evidence as you can and it takes time to do research. So not everybody cares.
Yeah,
to do it.
kind of. It honestly doesn't take that long, though. I mean,
It doesn't.
I could learn how to do pretty close to anything, and I bet a half hour. I mean, like open heart surgery, probably not. But I mean, I don't know.
I don't
What do
know.
you think, Casey? You think Google's a good tool to learn how to do things
I think you can learn open heart surgery in a half hour.
and be successful with it?
No.
Okay, you wouldn't let me do surgery on your heart.
Not on me.
Oh, okay, right on. I hear you.
Not on an island, maybe.
But I bet if I was walking down the street and a woman ran up to me and said, "I'm having a baby right now. I need somebody to deliver it," I bet I could go onto YouTube and probably not do it that well, but
People have babies
I would have
all
the
the time.
general idea. I mean, yes,
Catch it.
yeah, she could probably do it on her own, maybe, but it would help, I think, having me there, especially if I YouTubed how to do it, how to deliver a baby.
Put glove on.
Yeah, all right. Well, so far it's pretty. Yeah.
Anyone can do that.
Exactly. Do you have like an entrepreneur that you look up to that you're kind of like, God, I want to be like that guy?
Gosh. Probably I like Kevin O'Leary, even though he's kind of like the shark that nobody. I think he's super upfront.
Yeah.
He gets his message across.
I like that guy
He's
too. I think he's
very
badass.
business oriented, and he's a smart guy, and he has like good information. And if you read anything about him and just kind of his story and how he got to where he is today, by, you don't take off Saturdays when you're trying to start your own business. You
Oh
don't-
God.
I mean, there's just so much, but I don't know, what really terrified me is, and I got a degree in biochemistry, and there was somebody, I was working at Red Lobster through my undergrad as a server,
Nice.
and there was 2 servers there that also had biology degrees, and they were like 4 years older than me, and they were still working there, and it was just so terrifying to me.
That would
like-
be scary.
And, especially because getting into medical school is just so demanding, and,
Yeah.
and the standards are getting so high. I was really, really fortunately surprised when I got my acceptance call, but I knew if I got an interview, I could get in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're pretty good at interviews.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, that would be tough. It's tough to not like compare yourself to other people. Like you said, working at Red Lobster, and you see somebody who you're like, oh yeah, I can't wait to get to that point that they're at. And you're like, why are they working the same
Right.
job that I am? There's a realtor in my office who has a biology degree, and she crushes it in real estate. She absolutely crushes it.
It's like, what can you do with a biology degree?
I know. I asked her, I'm
Nothing.
like, do you ever kind of wish that you didn't have that? And she's like, no, I don't think. She's like, I'm really glad that I got it. And I'm like, do you think it helps you in your job? And
It
she's
really
like,
taught me to work hard. I don't know.
And that's kind of what she said too. So that makes sense.
Because it was just like always working.
Oh yeah, no, school
you have to
sucks.
study
I went to
so
Lake
hard.
Superior College and dropped out after 3 semesters, so couldn't do it. But yeah, but I think I had $2,100 in student debt when I dropped out, and I paid for it with the first house that I sold. So I was like,
Oh.
sweet, debt free. Love it. It's funny. It's funny to listen to like people like myself who dropped out of college, and it's pretty easy for me to advocate like against college. But then you hear people who have the degree, and they're like, I can see where you're coming from, but I think there's a lot of value in getting a college degree. But it's like it's rare when you hear people like
That's true.
crossing over and like advocating for what they didn't do because it makes them look dumb.
And so I'm like half of that. I'm like a med school dropout.
Yeah,
But I,
yeah,
an
yeah.
undergrad.
But that's kind of, I think there's a little bit more, that carries a bit more weight saying that you dropped out of med school. That's like saying because what did Bill Gates dropped out of like Harvard or
Harvard,
something
yeah.
like that? They're like, look at Bill Gates, he dropped out of college. It's like, okay, let's listen to this. Bill Gates dropped out of
Mark
Harvard.
Zuckerberg
Like, Gates, you
dropped
dropped
out
out of Lake Superior College after 3 semesters. Like, don't compare yourself to Bill Gates. So,
One can dream.
yeah, exactly. Or Steve Jobs, he dropped out of Yale or something like that.
Yeah.
I think.
It's
Oh,
just
those guys.
Yeah, and I think just overall having like a general curiosity about things,
Yeah.
be interested in what people are doing, why they're doing it, why they're doing it in a certain way.
Oh,
Try to
exactly.
understand different behaviors and
Yeah,
if you
behavioral
can-
economics are super interesting.
super interesting, and like it all revolves around what we think is a culture, and timing is a big thing. Part of that, we have a Vietnam vet who we work with, and we together have developed this gun lock that is for semi-automatic weapons, and essentially standard cable gun locks go through the magazine, and you have to have the gun totally like cocked back, and it stays that way. So like over years and years, the springs start to get stretched,
yeah.
and it can damage the gun, and so you also can't fire it. You can't like there's something called a snap cap that allows you to like feel the trigger pressure.
Okay.
So you can kind of practice and better understand your gun, which is very important. And he's developed one where you can do all of that with a really simple kind of device. And so we take an equity stake in that company, and we did the intellectual property aspect, and now are contacting all these different gun manufacturers to license this newer, safer lock. So
That's sweet.
yeah, just a lot of.
That's really cool.
It's a really, like I said, a ton of variety.
How many companies are you guys working with?
8.
8 right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. That would be fun.
Yeah, it's really, and it's so fun because we all kind of have our individual projects, and
Yeah.
I oversee all the projects, but I assign project leads. So I'm like, hey, this is your project,
Yeah.
don't let it fall.
Yeah, that's sweet.
And especially if I'm there, I can like very well judge how well somebody's going to do in it. And typically our staff will start like on 2 different projects is like 3 chairs down, and then as they gain more experience, they'll move to second chair, and then they'll actually get able to. So they have a good understanding of like kind of the process that we have, and
yeah.
the resources. I don't know. I feel like I have every resource. We all have every resource at our hands. It's just, the only person really truly holding yourself back is yourself.
Yeah, no, and I mean, it sounds kind of corny to say those kinds of things. I almost don't even like saying it just because but it's so true. That's
so true.
Everyone is just like, they're like, I would do this, but the excuse that I hate more than anything is when somebody says they don't have enough time to do something.
You do.
Yeah, it's like, come on. Like, you see some of these things that like these billionaires or like these people that are worth all this money, the amount of stuff that they're doing, and they have the exact same 24 hours that you do. And like, you work 95, but you're going to tell me that you don't have time to go to the gym or to eat healthy or to cook food or start that
Right.
business that you want to do. Like, don't do that.
Yeah, it's just habits.
Don't do that to
people have.
yourself. Yeah, habits.
Bad
Casey, what do we at for time?
55.
55 minutes?
Okay, let me see if there's anything else I want to talk about. Yeah, just kind of going back to the platonic thing, like loneliness is an equal opportunity offender. It doesn't matter if you're
Yeah.
rich, poor, you see it, men, women, everyone's kind of so equal in this kind of one thing. And you think about your health, it's a huge part of your actual health is like interactions with other people, whether that be emotional health, spiritual health, or mental health. And
Right.
physical health is kind of starts to get a smaller portion of the overall pie. And so taking a big focus on that is kind of like the new, mission of our companies, and kind of changing the way that culture sees different aspects, and really that's where innovation is born. And to do that, you really have to open up yourself and be extremely vulnerable. When I'm pitching all of these different ideas, like we talked about, people are going to like shut you down faster than a
and it doesn't
light
take much.
switch.
There'd be one like move of their head or something. You'll be like, oh crap.
For sure. And
I'm
like
an
reading
idiot.
their body language,
Yeah.
and like looking at how they react to what you're talking about, and putting yourself out there. It's like, there's a YouTube video of the lone dancer, and he's the first one dancing, and by the end of the video, he gets a whole crowd to move with him, and they talk about how important like the first follower is, and he signals to other people in the community like, oh, okay, it's okay to follow, and then you get a lone nut becomes two lone nuts in the middle. But I always feel like I'm out on the 50-yard line dancing my ass off.
Yeah.
And I can see who's at the 40-yard line dancing with me, who's
Right.
at the 20-yard line dancing with me, and who's on the sideline watching.
Yeah.
And so, like, being able to identify those people and retain them, we set up something called a convertible note phantom stock for our company. And so when it hits a certain target evaluation, all of that stock gets converted into real cash.
Oh, wow.
And so, like, it's a big incentive for us to work hard, and it's great for me because, they have, like, hope that I can't provide right now.
Yeah.
And it's been a really great kind of structure for how we do things.
Right. So what's kind of your biggest, do you have like your biggest fears with
Biggest
starting these companies?
fears.
Like, are you afraid that everything is just going to come crashing down? Does that ever like hit you or give you anxiety?
I think
or
that's why
anything like
it's so important to have multiple things going on, because your heart can be broken so fast. I mean, being an entrepreneur is such an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
I mean, you may wake up and be like, we're ruined. It's like,
yeah, exactly. We're ruined.
And then by the end of the day, you could be on a high, like, we just got this huge deal. It's just like, it's just night and day. And
no, that
in
happens.
Less than 12 hours.
Yeah. It's not even, it's literally like I'm a text message away at any time from this being like a shitty day to this being like, oh, nice. Like, life is awesome.
And so, back to the vulnerability thing, I truly think being vulnerable is the birthplace of creativity and innovation, because it allows people to give input, and really, like, that's what you're looking for when you're talking to people about ideas you have. Like, I want to know why you don't like it. Like, I don't care if you like it or not. I mean, some people aren't going to like it. But like, why? Like, finding out that why versus, taking that is like a very personal, like, reflection of yourself.
Yeah. No, I think that's important, is being able to take the information and the negative things people have to say and try to find a way to turn it into a positive, I guess, or to leverage it into something constructive.
Well, and it may like totally spark like another idea or strategy based off of what they're telling you. And, I always say that kind of building apps or websites or whatever, it's kind of like constructing a coral reef. It happens slowly over time, and eventually you'll get a school of fish to come by and see its worth.
Nice. Did you come up with that?
Yeah.
I like that.
But it does.
You should make an animation or something like that that shows that as like a little story.
Building an app. We'll cut to a coral reef.
I think people would like that.
But yeah, and so like it's not going to happen overnight, but it's just persistence and just
persistence is big too.
Always, every day I try to do something to advance it, even if it's a weekend. Maybe I'll post a throwback to something our company did a couple weeks ago to get out on social media, or we try to do 10 different contents a day, whether that just be a tweet, actually a Facebook post, maybe just a live posting, a snap. Maybe we're sharing something on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But like every day we try to get something out.
Right. Yeah, I think that's important. Casey, if you were to pitch something like a business idea to Nate right now, what would it be?
How am I gonna create?
Oh, come on. I knew you were going to get all mad. I just thought, think of a quick business idea. What do you think is a good idea?
I don't know.
Pretend you're in the office of MC Cubed right now. And
So the first day that I had my staff, I gave them all of these crazy, weird objects. And I'm like, all right, you have 5 minutes, and you're going to sell this to us.
that sounds like a blast.
And, people, I gave someone a spring, and they're like, it's extendable, and you can wear it as, like, hairpiece. I mean, just the creativity that it kind of elicits. And I think right now I get those freaking ads for this jaw workout. Like, it's literally a ball. And they're marketing it as, like, increasing cheek tone. And like, get rid of that double chin. And, like, all of those people are like, oh, my God, I need one. And it's just so funny, like, just big
The one I'm getting right now is the toothpaste that they're like little tablets, and they come in a glass bottle to try to reduce the amount of toothpaste tubes in the ocean or whatever. So it comes in a glass bottle, and it's like a little tablet, and you put it in your mouth, and it seems like a dry little tablet, but once you start chewing it, it turns into foam, so you can brush your teeth with the foam
that's really cool.
that it creates. So yeah, that's kind of that, and then that truffle hot sauce too. I've seen that a lot.
I just saw those. You can buy reusable grocery bags, not like for produce. They're basically like a little mesh bag.
Yeah.
Like they didn't invent the mesh bag.
You.
Now you can
They're
go
selling them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now you can
Exactly.
go to the grocery store and you bring your own little baggies for vegetables.
I don't like that. I don't want to do that.
But then you don't waste plastic baggies.
I know. I went to the grocery store today though, and I got a paper bag. I always get a paper bag.
Oh, you're insane.
Oh no, Casey's a little snarky today. No, I'm just kidding. I'm doing a dry 30 right now, so I feel like I'm maybe a little bit snarky. Maybe it's me.
How's that going, by the way?
It's good. I was telling Casey earlier I had a non-alcoholic beer yesterday. It was pretty good actually. I don't know. I just kind of missed the taste of beer, so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have a non-alcoholic beer, and it was good. But I'm actually loving
It's like drinking decaffeinated coffee.
Yeah, I know it's weird, but I'm actually loving like being sober. I feel so good every day, and I'm like every morning at like 5:30, I bounce up and I'm like, holy shit, I'm ready to just do it big time. Yeah, I'm ready to tear someone's head off. I just have so much energy all the time.
That's awesome.
Have you been going out?
No, I have not. I bet I could do it right now because I'm doing a challenge. But did you see anything about the challenge that we did it on the podcast? It was me and 2 other guys. So we're doing 30 days of we can't drink any alcohol, and we're each choosing a local charity, and no matter what, we're donating $100 to the local charity. But then if one of us drinks during the 30 days, we need to donate $100 to everyone else's charity as well. So that's kind of a way to, I guess, motivate us to not drink. But then on top of that, we're each doing a 30-day business challenge. So we each have these 30 days to come up with a business, and then whoever's business at the end of the 30 days is most profitable, then they are like the real winner of the challenge. So that one is really interesting because it's tough to come up with like a creative and actually interesting business idea that can become profitable in 30 days.
Actually,
yeah. So I'm doing something called Perry's Online Garage Sale. I know a lot of vacant houses in town with a lot of shit in it, and the sellers are like, yeah, take what you want. So I'm going to come in and grab things that I think are worth like $20 or more, and then sell them online.
Yeah, because they probably just like need to get out of the house.
Yeah, they're like, it's going to the dump anyway, so either you take it or whatever.
Like,
so my goal is to make $1,000 in this 30 days. I think if I can do that, that'll put me in a good spot to be in the lead. And then another guy is doing a raking business, so he's just going around and literally just raking people's yards, which is awesome. And then Luke is doing ticket sales, so he's buying tickets and then flipping them in an effort to make a profit on that. So that'll be interesting.
Raking sounds horrible.
Raking sounds like the easiest business idea.
Yeah,
You literally just
It's
walk.
not very creative.
It's not creative at all. But I think I forget what he's charging, and maybe he doesn't want me to say on the podcast. But
It's for charity.
yeah, it's for charity. Yeah. What is this 28-year-old doing, going door to door asking if he can rake my yard?
That sounds sketchy.
It does sound sketchy. Yeah, stay away from my house. But I don't know. I think I usually have a segment called Weird News segment, and I Google some news that I think is abnormal. But I didn't do that beforehand because, I don't know, I tried to use the excuse that I didn't have time. the answer is I was just being lazy and I didn't look up the weird news. So I don't
Trying
have
to think if
anything.
I've
Do you know
heard
any?
any
Yeah. Do
weird
you know any weird
news.
news that's gone on recently? What about you, Casey?
Another question that I can't answer. I don't know.
Every time I go to Chicago, or every time I drive there, I stop in Milwaukee at the Krispy Kreme donuts. It's the
Okay.
closest one to Duluth.
Yeah.
And what an incredible idea to like go there and buy like just
So I-
thousands of donuts.
That's okay. So that's what that person was. I kind of glanced at the story. Tell
Yeah.
me again what they were doing.
So he would drive to Michigan, buy like, I don't know how many, 100 boxes of Krispy Kremes,
Yeah.
and then drive them back up to, I think, Wisconsin,
Yeah.
and sell them to people. And he got like a ton of people that were buying them, and we had a Krispy Kreme in Coon Rapids, but I think they've been out of Minnesota for about 12 years now.
Yeah.
And they actually called him and told him to stop. And they're like, don't do that.
Krispy Kreme did.
Yeah, they're
That's kinda
based, I
cool.
think, in North Carolina.
Yeah.
And so he got all of this press, and they actually ended up they're hiring him as an independent contractor to like deliver donuts. They gave him like 50,000 free donuts and like hiring him as a contractor. I think they felt bad because I mean he was getting a ton of press, and they were like the bad kids, which I can understand. Like. They're probably not the same quality at that point. They probably have brand standards, safety wise. Like, who knows if they eat a Krispy Kreme donut and something happened to it along the way? Like,
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's got their name on it. That's
was-
funny though. It's crazy that they're just outlawed in Minnesota, right? Or I
Is
don't.
that why?
part of me thinks it was the rumor I heard when it closed was that like it was so bad for you that
That's
like,
what I heard too.
Oh,
How
you heard
old-
that?
How old are you?
25.
25. Yeah, and I turned 25 in January. So we were like 11 or 12 years old. So
Yep.
my interpretation of it at that age was, I guess Krispy Kreme donuts are so bad for you that
Because we bought
they're
them when they
illegal.
were here. Like, I
Yeah,
bought 'em.
I loved them. I could eat like 12 of them at a time, which
I
is
remember
probably why.
watching them make it.
Oh, the glazing
Oh,
machine.
I know. I can't even
yes.
think about it. I get lightheaded. I love those things.
But yeah.
yeah.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. We got to do
Yeah.
a high five because it's the high five with Gage Hartman. Yeah.
RBRapparel.com. Reserve yours today.
Boom. Yeah. Plug anything you want on here. And
That's it.
Okay.
It's the project I'm working on the most right now.
And you need video work done, Casey Flipson. He's your dude. You can find him on Facebook. Otherwise, that's all I got for you guys. Like the video, subscribe to the video, subscribe on iTunes, Spotify. Thank you guys for watching, listening. Have a great rest of your week.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.